Tonight, knife-wielding thugs embark on a string of home invasions. Media identity Dr. Turf among the victims.
Senseless teenagers push an elderly fisherman off Mornington Pier in a dangerous prank.
Breaking news, paramedics weighing up industrial action as pay negotiations break down.
Donald Trump decimates his rivals in Iowa, snagging nearly 70% of the vote.
Kids as young as 13 joining the workforce as businesses beg for more staff.
And quiet please, the Australian Open's fan-friendly changes draw the ire of players.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Alicia Loxley and Tom Steinfort.
Good evening. The daughter of horse racing identity Dr. Turf has been threatened with a knife by a group of thugs during a violent burglary in Armidale.
The gang hit 6 different homes across Melbourne's southeast overnight, leaving residents on edge. Crime reporter Gillian Lantouris has this exclusive report.
Armed with a knife, this man is one of 3 people responsible for a violent crime spree across the southeastern suburbs.
Very calm, very brazen.
The group of thugs pulled up at this Melbourne East home just before 10 last night, stealing Sid's prized 2018 Porsche.
They came into the house, yeah.
While you were on a work call?
A room away, literally.
His wife and 2 young children were also inside.
Check-in for show, the household is shaken.
Sid's house was the second of 6 homes targeted between 9 p.m. and 3:30 this morning.
This is terrible. I'm just so alarmed.
On Paxton Street, a resident spooked the armed intruders, but they still made off with her Mercedes SLK. In nearby Armidale, the home of horse racing identity John Rothfield, known as Dr. Turf, was ransacked. His 21-year-old daughter was threatened with a knife during the 20-minute ordeal, and the home trashed before the thieves sped off in 2 luxury vehicles. From that Armidale home, the men were last seen speeding along the Monash in another stolen Porsche. The air wing tracked it at speeds of more than 200 kilometres per hour.
They should be caught because I'm not sure if they've done this to anyone else. The fact that they were so brazen is very scary.
Gillian Lantouris joins us live now from Prahran Police Station. Jill, how's John Rothfield's daughter doing tonight?
Tom, I've spoken to him this afternoon. He says she is a bit shaken but doing relatively okay. During the ordeal, the offenders stole her phone, but she demanded it back, and the offenders handed it back over to her. So quite a remarkable young woman there. As it stands tonight, no arrests have been made, but that CCTV is quite clear, so no doubt police have some leads there. It's understood a Volkswagen stolen from that Armidale home has been recovered, but there's at least 3 vehicles still outstanding. Police say they will up patrols in the area tonight just for that extra reassurance to the community. Tom?
Gillian Lantouris there in Prahran, thank you. A 14-year-old boy has been charged following an alleged assault on a fisherman. The teen was recorded pushing the man into the water off Mornington Pier. Mimi Becker is there for us this evening. Mimi, what have police had to say about this?
Tom, police have said the man wasn't seriously injured, but that he was shaken. In the video that was posted on social media, you can see the 3 teenage boys egg each other on before that 14-year-old boy allegedly pushes the fisherman into the water. It's understood he wasn't a strong swimmer, so others had to jump in to rescue him. Now, this occurred on 11:30 p.m. On Sunday night, and locals have been left disgusted by this attack.
Go, 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 Lockie, go, 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 go. Yeah, the point! An old fella walking down minding his own business, well, that's pretty careless because there's that many of them.
Now, police have ramped up their patrols in the area over summer. Officers patrolling the pier here this afternoon. As for the 14-year-old boy from Crib Point, he will have to face the Children's Court at a later date. Tom?
Mimi Becker, thank you.
9 News can reveal all 3 emergency services are about to be at war with the state over pay deals.
Heidi Murphy joins us here in the studio. Heidi, Victoria's paramedics are weighing up whether they'll take industrial action.
Yeah, Tom, I understand the Victorian Ambulance Union has run out of patients entirely tonight after trying for a new EBA for nearly a year. There's been at least 60 meetings held, including one late this afternoon, but they are nowhere near a deal, I'm told. It is now industrial action on the cards for paramedics. It may include stop work action to get the message through. The government now facing the real prospect of battling police, firefighters and paramedics in the coming months. It comes as Jacinda Allen has today tried to calm the pill testing debate as one person remains critical 10 days on from the mass overdose in Flemington. The Premier hinting for the first time she is open to considering it.
Scoring on her first shot. On a day out inspecting the revamped State Basketball Centre.
That's an absolute slam dunk for the sport.
What's not so clear-cut exactly where the Premier now stands on pill testing.
I am seeking and waiting for further advice from the Department of Health.
That's a change in language from State Labor's long-standing refusal to entertain it.
So if that additional advice recommends pill testing, are you open to it?
Well, again, I want to get the advice.
To the Premier, I say, what more advice do you need? There is decades of international experience.
And a new study by Monash University revealing over 20 years there have been 64 deaths at music events, 17 of them in Victoria.
These deaths were almost exclusively caused by drug overdose, and the majority of those deaths involved the use of MDMA or ecstasy.
Pill testing, crucially, can address these harms.
The opposition wants other options exhausted first.
We don't support pill testing. Is because it's an unreliable test.
While other testing backers are concerned about who would foot the bill.
People that go to these festivals spend hundreds of dollars on tickets, they spend a lot of money on drugs, and expecting taxpayers to effectively subsidise their quality control is a bit rich.
While the small change in tone is being welcomed by the minor parties, they also warn the government can't keep dragging its feet. They say they will push ahead with their own bill and Parliament resumes next month.
At the end of this summer, I would like to see resolution. I would like to see pill testing implemented.
Heidi Murphy, 9 News.
Fierce storms have smashed Melbourne's southeastern suburbs, rain and lightning lashing Mount Waverley before moving south towards Mentone and Beaumaris. 43 millimetres of rain was recorded in Moorabbin in the space of just an hour. The wild weather brought down trees and swamped streets in Cheltenham and Parkdale.
Well, about 1:30 or so, there was just a horrendous storm came through. It was quite loud. It was louder than I've ever experienced here before. I've been here 40 years.
The SES responded to 40 calls for help between 1 and 3 a.m. Well, Craig Tiley has been forced to defend big changes to the Australian Open fan experience. We'll head live to Tony Jones, who's at Melbourne Park for us. TJ, that new party court we heard so much about, well, it's causing quite the racket.
Well, it is for all the right reasons, I've got to say, Tom, if in fact you're someone like Craig Tiley who is embracing this, because some of the older brigade, whether it be older tennis fans or older players like Novak Djokovic, for example, not that he's going to be gracing court 6, I wouldn't have thought, that will take some getting used to. But in terms of the younger generations coming through, this is very much a way of the future, and whilst tournaments like Wimbledon pride themselves on tradition, this is the Happy Slam, and what they pride themselves on, that being the Australian Open, is innovation. So you've got Court 6, which is the party court, and then of course you've got this, really embracing this new rule whereby spectators can come into the stadium after games as opposed to after change of ends. So it's a whole new ball game in many ways. Nathan Curry is over on the party court at the moment, and Nathan, take it away. It's your shout.
Your shout, Tone. I think the fans here think it's an absolute hit. I know the players aren't too keen so far. It's going to get a lot more vocal once the two women's doubles teams get underway. We've got music playing. It's a real different feel. We're so close to that court. Yeah. Upstairs, you can see it's absolutely packed. We'll stay down here. They're having too much fun up there. I think it would have been right up Nick Kyrgios's alley if he was playing. Other players, not so much. One's already compared it to a nightclub. Stefanos Tsitsipas had some very strong words to say about it this afternoon as well. If you're celebrating your birthday at the AO, the party court's the place to do it. The perfect occasion for the Greek birthday boy, with not one Tsitsipas on court, but two.
It's a great day to have, so very good, very good.
The Tsitsipas brothers looked the perfect combo for the party court, but the world number 7 isn't a fan.
You don't know until you're a tennis player when you're trying to zone in, get in the zone. It's difficult.
As for the fans, well, they were settling in.
It's great to be front row, you know. Nothing quite like it, I think.
I don't think it's affecting the players. People are quite respectful.
7-time Australian Open champion Dylan Alcott is jealous and says players need to get used to it.
I would have loved that court. That would have been my kind of court. It was different. And you know what you see with golf, how on the golf tours they've started to do it, and the players end up loving it.
The stadiums are certainly a lot livelier too now. Fans can come and go as they want in between games rather than just when players change hands. Not everyone's happy about that either. Aussie Jordan Thompson made his view clear on court.
Oh my God, this is the wokest one.
And then doubled down post-match.
We don't come in and storm into an office while someone's in a meeting. Like, that's just, someone's just barging through the door and making a nuisance.
What we have done is we've tried to get the fans into their seats quicker, because the worst situation you could have as a fan, you're waiting outside in the stadium for 3 games, for 5 games. You could be waiting for up to 20, 30 minutes before you get in.
Past greats say they understand Thompson's comments, but they're backing the move.
I've been saying this now for a year or so, that should be open. People should be able to come and go as they please, as if they're going to a basketball or a football game.
I actually really like it because you've got to progress with sport, right? And that's what the fans want. Fans pay the bills. We want people to come in and watch tennis and things like that.
No doubt the party atmosphere will continue tomorrow afternoon with Alex Demonor locked in to be second up on Rod Laver Arena after progressing last night. Nathan Curry, 9 News.
And the Demon success is already flowing on to some of his countrymen. Thanasi Kokkinakis has landed the first blow over on John Cain Arena. We'll bring you the latest on his battle in sport. And we'll hear from Max Purcell after he hit a big singles milestone. Also later in sport, what has Steve Smith? What's got him up and about ahead of the first test against the West Indies? And Buffalo fans brave the elements to watch their Bills plough through the playoffs. Conditions a little different here, I've got to say, Alicia.
I love the Saints, but I don't know about that. Tony, we will see you a bit later on. Thank you. Well, Donald Trump has taken a huge step towards returning to the White House with a landslide win in Iowa. Supporters answered the former president's call to arms, defying bitterly cold temperatures to cast their ballots. US correspondent Lauren Tomasi.
In the record-setting cold, it was a record-setting win.
This result really solidifies his place as the current frontrunner for the nomination.
Barely 30 minutes into the Iowa caucuses, Donald Trump delivered a big victory in this small but crucial Midwest state.
We want to thank the great people of Iowa. Thank you. We love you all.
It wasn't the win that was surprising, it's the margin. More than half of Iowa's Republicans backed the former president. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis inching into second place ahead of former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley. The Trump campaign already looking at the general election.
I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together, whether it's Republican or Democrat.
They threw everything but the kitchen sink at us.
Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
Here it's minus 30 degrees with the wind chill, but that didn't keep caucus goers or their opinions at home.
The whole nation is looking to us when most of the time they could care less what we have to say.
He's got a cult following, so that's pretty much the only way to explain why anybody would support that guy.
This caucus is the first real test of Donald Trump's standing with the Republican Party. After months of polls, predictions, campaigns and courtrooms, tonight it's the people who get their say.
Under Trump, we were a lot better nation.
Things have changed in this country. Certainly things have changed for him.
Iowa doesn't have the best track record of picking presidents, but it does set the tone for the race. In Des Moines, Iowa, Lauren Tomasi, 9 News.
The first Victorian charged with performing the Nazi salute could be on his way to jail. The white supremacist has revealed he's still trying to secure legal aid. Mimi Becker was in court.
Jacob Hassan waves as he walks into court today, but it's this gesture outside the county court in October he's in trouble for.
Hail Hitler. Oh, I nearly did it. It's illegal now, isn't it?
The 24-year-old represented himself as his application for legal aid was refused. He faces 1 year in jail, a $23,000 fine, or both, but prosecutors have indicated they will ask for prison time.
We're supposed to live in a democracy, yet the government is trying to jail me for moving my arm in a particular way, in a particular gesture.
The Point Cook man says he has no regrets.
Why were you refused legal aid?
They didn't think that there was a chance of imprisonment, but the prosecutor made it clear that there is a chance of imprisonment. So I presume I will get legal aid now.
It's alleged the salute was performed just 6 days after new legislation was introduced. Hassan had just been sentenced for violent disorder. The magistrate said today a lot of people get disgruntled after court appearances. The young father is counting on getting his legal aid representation approved. He hopes to have it sorted in time for his next court appearance on the 2nd of February. Mimi Becker, 9 News.
Australia's Health Department estimates around 450,000 Australians will ask for prescriptions for nicotine vapes each year, a new requirement under the government's crackdown. There are concerns it'll lead to nearly 1 million more GP visits. Anthony Albanese has hinted cost of living help for households could be on the way, but he hasn't yet given details.
High commodity prices means money is available, but high inflation means handouts aren't an option. Political editor Charles Croucher.
A new link to help a highway and a new hint of help for households.
We've said that we'll always look at more measures to assist households.
And there'll be more money to work with. Spot iron ore prices tonight hovering around $137 a tonne, down on recent peaks, but more than double the $60 forecast in the budget.
Without doubt, the ability for the Australian government to offer cost of living relief to Australian households is on the back of a strong resources and energy sector.
I've asked for Treasury and Finance to give ongoing advice.
As the government weighs up what's next, the ACCC is looking into supermarkets, with a potential lawsuit following complaints regarding specials that may not be so special.
There should be sufficient penalties to deter supermarkets from price gouging.
If the ACCC asks for more powers, my government's up for giving it to them.
With the second surplus now looking inevitable, the government faces a choice. Do they return the money to voters or bank the extra bucks?
Even though the government's got money and families haven't, it's kind of hard for governments to help without worsening the problem, without making inflation worse than it is.
And if inflation goes up, so too will interest rates. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
Coming up in Melbourne's 9 News, the survivor of a stabbing rampage at a real estate agency tells her harrowing story.
How children as young as 13 are helping to ease Victoria's worker shortage.
And Queen Mary's reign begins with the trip to Parliament.
Two women have been flown to hospital after one set the other alight in Shepparton last night. A 22-year-old suffered serious injuries and was taken to the Alfred. A 33-year-old, who is known to the victim, fled the scene on Middlesex Crescent but was found injured nearby. She was transported to Melbourne under police guard.
An Adelaide woman whose colleague was murdered in their office at the hands of a deranged killer has spoken publicly for the first time. Survivor Sue Gardino told 9 News about the horror and the guilt that she still feels.
Sue Gardino survived the unthinkable, but now lives with the unbearable.
Being the one that's left just carries so much grief and guilt and pain.
It was 5 days before Christmas. Sue and her colleague, 38-year-old Julie Seed, were alone in their real estate office when a man walked in armed with a knife and hammer. Police say he stabbed Julie repeatedly, Sue risking her life to save her friend when he turned on her too.
It makes me feel worse because I did everything I could, I thought at the time, to keep her safe.
Sue was rushed to hospital in a critical condition. Almost a month on, her wounds are healing, but her trauma runs deep.
But I just can't seem to find myself in there at the moment.
Sean Michaels Dunk has been charged with murder and attempted murder. He'd been released from psychiatric care just 2 days before the attack. Sue questioning why someone who'd reportedly threatened to harm others was allowed to walk free.
Every threat to life is a threat to life, and we're not taking it serious enough.
She's now vowing to fight for change in honour of her beautiful friend. Sue will meet with the South Australian Premier in the coming days to discuss what must change so something like this can never happen again.
It can't be for absolutely nothing.
Kelly Hughes, 9 News.
A 70-year-old woman has been killed and 17 others injured after coordinated car rammings in Israel. Police have described the incident north of Tel Aviv as a terrorist attack and said 2 Palestinians were arrested. Officials say the pair switched between 3 stolen vehicles and ran pedestrians over.
On her first day as monarch, Queen Mary has attended a ceremony at the Danish Parliament. The Tasmanian was greeted by a cheering crowd as she, King Frederick and Prince Christian met with lawmakers. Close behind was Queen Margrethe, who has kept her title after abdicating on Sunday.
Child workers are propping up Victorian businesses as staff shortages hit hard. Kids as young as 13 are manning the tills and serving customers. And it's legal. Reid Butler reports.
Lorne, the glittering jewel in the Surf Coast, now home to an increasing number of child workers like 13-year-old Raph. While big chains, including McDonald's, have their own policies, hiring children that age is actually totally legal. Employers just need to apply for the appropriate licence for under 15s. Leon relies on young staff to keep his popular beachside cafe running during peak season.
Basic sort of work, so we don't make them work too hard, I think, but it might be running plates, that sort of thing, doing the dishes.
Today, officers from the Wage Inspectorate Victoria were patrolling Surf Coast towns, visiting businesses to make sure they were following child employment rules.
Children need to have a rest break after every 3 hours for at least 30 minutes.
Hiring kids has become a necessity for many cafes, pubs and restaurants as staff shortages bite.
A young girl came in, asked me for a job, so she basically wants to come back every time her parents stay here and earn a little bit of money over the summer period.
In Lorne, staff problems are worsened by an urgent lack of suitable accommodation. Dom has converted the upstairs of his busy Greek restaurant to multiple bedrooms, so his workers have somewhere to stay.
That requires a sacrifice from us as well, because that means that my office is now a kitchen for someone.
Holiday towns are among the drivers of this surge in child workers. According to the most recent data across Victoria, last summer there was a 250% increase in the number of businesses hiring staff under 15. The majority, though, do the right thing, and often it's a win-win for the kids and the bosses.
I finally got enough money to get a new bike.
In Lorne, Reid Butler, 9 News.
Livinia joins us now from Melbourne Park. And Livinia, I'm sure a nice cool spot in the shade was the hottest property getting around today.
Oh, it certainly was, Tom. The city hit 32 degrees, so it's been hot for the fans, but even hotter out on the court. Now, the AO inspires a lot of kids to pick up a tennis racket, but it isn't an easy road for everyone. I'm joined by Vicky Reid from the Australian Tennis Foundation. Hi, Vicky.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. Now, the foundation helps disadvantaged young people to get involved with tennis, which is such a great sport.
Oh, it's so great. Well, as you know, sport makes such a difference to young people, and it provides so many skills and resilience and team building, and unfortunately not every child gets that opportunity. So the Australian Tennis Foundation exists to support those children and break down those barriers to be able to access our sport.
So it's First Nations children, disadvantaged children. You were telling me before it's children from flood-affected and fire-affected areas as well.
Yes, you remember the 2020, we had a big fundraising initiative during the Australian Open. We've been working in those communities for the last 5 years, and it's been great to go into those communities and give them a bit of respite from their day-to-day life.
And have some fun.
Have some fun, yeah, get them into the Australian Open.
The lottery that you do every year, that's your main fundraiser, and they've got some money can't buy experience.
Yes, we've got more prizes this year. However, our major prize is 2 flights to Melbourne, the finals tickets and accommodation, but also a back-of-house tour, a hit with the legend, and also being able to go and watch the Champions trophies.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Vicky. Now, the weather is no raffle. We are definitely getting some significant rain tomorrow. Alicia and Tom.
All right, Livinia, thank you.
Great stuff, Livinia. Well, when 9 News Melbourne returns, the decision to scrap Australia's Taipan helicopter fleet sparked protests from Ukraine.
Hundreds of people displaced as a powerful cyclone slams into Mauritius.
And TV's greatest hits, Succession and The Bear sweep the Emmys field. The Albanese government is facing calls for an inquiry into why 45 helicopters are being chopped up and buried when they could be sent to Ukraine.
President Zelensky's top diplomat here sent that request months ago with a new wave of protests set to challenge Canberra's inaction. Here's National Affairs Editor Andrew Probyn.
The Taipan helicopter, once at the sharp end of Australia's military, now $1 billion bin item.
This disposal strategy offered the best value for money for Australian taxpayers.
After a Taipan crashed off Queensland last July, killing 4 ADF personnel, the entire fleet of 45 was grounded. Defence deciding they'd be disassembled, picked for spare parts and then buried.
This is the dumbest government decision I've seen since we leased the Port of Darwin to a Chinese company for 99 years.
Just before Christmas, Ukraine's ambassador officially asked Australia to donate the choppers to the fight against Vladimir Putin.
We need those Taipans to help Ukraine win this war.
The Ukrainians are fighting for their lives. They need every bit of equipment to get the upper hand against the Russians.
The Defence Industry Minister today citing the Taipan's safety record for why they won't be sent.
It would be irresponsible for us to move away from the disposal strategy that we've locked on.
The risk threshold in war is different to that of peace.
Australia, free the Taipans for Ukraine.
The Ukrainian community is promising to campaign for the Taipans in major cities across Australia.
They are required now. They are required with speed.
Even if the government changes its mind, it remains unclear how many helicopters have already been chopped up and buried. The opposition and defence analysts want an inquiry.
How on earth can this be best value for money when, on the second-hand market, those helicopters are worth about $1 billion?
Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
At least one person has been killed after Cyclone Bilal ripped through the islands of Mauritius and Reunion, bringing winds of up to 250 kilometres an hour. Extensive flooding left many people stranded on the roofs of cars. More than 600 people have been forced from their homes. Australian actor Sarah Snook's golden run has continued, winning her first Emmy for her role in Succession. That drama, as well as the cast of The Bear, the big winners at the award's 75th ceremony. Ruth Wynne-Williams has more.
3 times nominated and tonight The Charm. Sarah Snook, outstanding lead actress in a drama series for her formidable turn as Shiv Roy in dark media drama Succession.
Thanks for everyone who voted.
The Australian pregnant with her first child while filming the final season.
I love you so much and it's all for you from here on out.
Dressed in a dramatic red Vivienne Westwood gown this week, a clean sweep for the 36-year-old, a Golden Globe, a Critics' Choice Award and now an Emmy.
Australia is punching above one's weight, that you're so well represented now in Hollywood. What do you think about that?
It's in the water.
Australian Elizabeth Debicki also nominated for Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series for her portrayal of Princess Diana in The Crown.
Careful, you might hit one.
That gong awarded to another People's Princess, Jennifer Coolidge.
He says I'm definitely dead, so I'm going along with it.
Tonight, no wrap-up music. Instead, a hurry-up from host Anthony Anderson's mum.
Time. Okay, guess what? One more thing.
And I don't want nobody to get disrespectful with my mama because my mama is from the west side of Chicago and she can throw them hands.
And no cringeworthy monologue, but tributes to small screen history. Tributes too to legends lost.
I'll be there for you.
But celebrating
The Bear.
The Bear! 6 Emmys for The Bear, including Outstanding Comedy and 6-2 for
Succession,
including Outstanding Drama. And in true Hollywood style, outstanding outfits for everyone. Ruth Wynne-Williams, 9 News.
Still ahead in 9 News, Woolies smear campaign. A man arrested over a pro-Australia Day vandalism attack.
Your first look at the multi-million-dollar update at Melbourne Aquarium.
And around the world in 20 years, the amazing story of a long-lost book that's made its way home to Victoria from Ireland.
A man's been arrested over a vandalism attack at a Woolworths. A flare was set off inside the Brisbane supermarket, which was also graffitied in an apparent protest against the company's decision not to sell Australia Day merchandise. The 40-year-old was arrested and has been charged.
Australians have lost confidence in the economy. New data shows sentiment remains at lows scarcely seen since the early 1990s. Finance editor Chris Kohler.
When it comes to interest rates, Australians simply don't believe economists anymore. Here's how we know. More than 7 out of 10 economists say the Reserve Bank will cut interest rates this year. In fact, some are predicting up to 3 rate cuts, which is good news if people believe it, but they don't seem to. 6 out of 10 average Australians with a mortgage think interest rates will rise further this year. So they're either not listening to the economists or they think they're full of it. Either way, consumer confidence hasn't been this consistently low since the recession in the early 90s. As for the share market, it was down a hefty 1.1% today, touching 4-week lows. Supermarkets fell after the ACCC said it's having a close look at reports of fake bargains. And the Aussie dollar was also at a 4-week low, buying 66 US cents and closer to 61 euro cents.
A slice of the Great Barrier Reef is now calling Melbourne home after the multi-million-dollar refurbishment of Sea Life Aquarium. As Alan Ruskell reports, the feat will be celebrated with a free drone show tonight.
Creatures of the deep.
I'd like to be under the sea.
The sea life at Melbourne's aquarium getting used to their new digs, the Oceanarium having just had an 11-month, $9 million refit for the first time since it opened 24 years ago. It proved to be quite the undertaking, according to Olivia Hill, who was there when the aquarium threw open its doors in the year 2000.
We took all the animals out of here and moved them to Sea Life Sunshine Coast and Sea Life Sydney in trucks, which was a massive effort.
2 million litres of water had to be drained before the refit, which included the installation of 34 tonnes of sand and 74 tonnes of salt. Its residents then allowed to move back in. What's been your favourite part here?
Probably the turtle. Probably seeing the swordfish. The stingray.
You like the stingrays? The new Night on the Reef exhibit, now a slice of the Great Barrier Reef in Melbourne. Tickets are $36 for kids, $49.50 for adults, or $150 for a family of 4. The Oceanarium doesn't just allow people to marvel at the majesty of these sea creatures, it also gives people the chance to learn about the fragile ecosystems these guys call home. To mark the refurbished attraction's official opening, there'll be a free drone show along the Yarra in front of the aquarium.
So you're going to see sharks, rays, you're going to see turtles. We might even throw a little few penguins in there.
The show starts at 9:15 tonight. Alan Ruskell, 9 News.
Now, here's a chance discovery that must have been written in the stars. 20 years ago, a woman from Koyuna sent a book by John Laws to her nephew in Limerick over in Ireland with a birthday message in the cover. Last weekend, Jen Tucker visited a book fair in Apollo Bay when she stumbled upon that very same book. But Jen decided she might put it back on the shelf for the next potential owner to enjoy.
Unbelievable story. All right, now let's go back to Melbourne Park and we find Tony Jones there with all of tonight's sport.
Good on you, Alicia. Thanks very much for that. Coming up after the break, we'll be joined by another Alicia Mollick, to preview Isla Tom Lanovich's Grand Slam return. But the fight is getting harder for Thanasi. He's really being stretched. Also ahead, a Premiership Pie gives an update on his injury scare. And the football fans on thin ice in Buffalo. Welcome back to Melbourne Park, where Thanasi Kokkinakis is facing a pretty lengthy battle tonight over on John Cain Arena in a bid to advance to the second round. Let's take a look at the scores, and after winning a first set tie-break, the Aussie is now all square with Sebastian Offner in the third. He's hoping to join Max Purcell, who was made to earn his maiden Australian Open victory the hard way. Joshua Dorr has the highlights.
He's ranked 31 places lower than his Austrian opponents, but the margins in this game are small.
There's your fingernail, a millimetre.
And in their first tie-break test, Thanasi Kokkinakis proved a class above.
Rock solid for the set. And that's brought the crowd into the equation.
A 59-minute grind to go a set ahead, and the second would be no easier.
Oh my goodness.
Offner turning the tide with 2 breaks to level the game. An opening set loss kicked our third-ranked Aussie male into gear.
It's a good shot from Purcell.
Max Purcell peeling off the next two sets against Matej Valkush in no time until a wayward ball girl caused a distraction.
She's literally just here and she just started walking over and then around.
A messy 13-minute service game followed where Purcell blew 6 match points, but the home support eventually got him over the line.
There it is.
And I was hoping I'd close out that 5-4 game and I really started getting them into it, let them down, and I was like, just head down. Let's get these last two and not disappoint. To come out here and kind of get a big win in our home slam is huge for me for confidence for the rest of this year.
Iga Swiatek staved off a first-round test from 2020 champion Sophia Kenin. The world number one eventually winning in straight sets before revealing Ash Barty is inspiring her tilt for a maiden Australian crown.
I knew that, if I'm going to be working hard, it could be, possible for me. So yeah, she really motivated me.
Joshua Daw, 9 News.
Still on tennis, and as you can see, Alicia Molik joins me now. And Alicia, all eyes on Isla Tomljanovic tonight.
Well, she plays Petra Martic, a very good friend of hers from junior days in Croatia before Isla made the switch to Australia. She's had a great preparation, Tony, plenty of matches in the United Cup. Isn't quite where she'd like to be, but a night like tonight can change everything.
And as you say, an injury interrupted 2023, so she's sort of a little lost ground to make up, hasn't she?
Yeah, look, it has been, and it was, but look, she's come through her rehab incredibly well. She won the last week of the tour calendar last year in Mexico, went there with no expectations. So she's had a lot of matches under her belt. She's got the home crowd on her side. They're pretty jovial on John Cain Arena, so it will be the perfect setting for her.
Now, what about you? Talk about an embarrassment of riches. It's hard enough to get one ticket, but you had your choice of two.
Oh, well, Isla did offer me a ticket to her box. I would love to be there. Channel 9, though, Tony, working me to the bone. I will be in the commentary box, which I'm really looking forward to tonight.
As we are as well. All right, we'll see you then.
You too, Tony. Thanks.
Thank you, Alicia Molik, joining us there. And I can tell you there's plenty of star power around here at Melbourne Park at the moment. Braden Ingram is over at the Emirates Marquee. That'd be nice. On the River Terrace. Braden, who have you collared?
Tony, the Aussie Open always attracts some of Melbourne's biggest names, and tonight we've seen the Collingwood captain Dylan Moore, Darcy Morey, including many of his teammates as well, Chris Goulding from Melbourne United, and also Mark Philippoussis. But when it comes to the Pies, it's been a little bit of a watch on Josh Dacos. He had a foot issue that forced him to leave training on Saturday. Now, he says it's not too much of a problem. He has had this issue before, and it didn't require scans. He's confident it won't interrupt his pre-season too much.
Yeah, I've just had a bit of a foot niggle that over that Christmas break that kind of stirred up my training, and we just want to get it right as soon as possible. We've got plenty of time now, and just so nothing lingers during the year.
So what does that mean? We do a modified program for a few weeks, or when are you back full training?
Yeah, I'll be back running pretty soon, just until I've got no awareness there, which will be a couple of sessions now.
Now, Bailey Smith from the Bulldogs was spotted today with the Dacos brothers having a little bit of a lunch, but they say that it's certainly not too much of an issue. They won't be trying to recruit him, although they certainly are getting in his ear. Tony, as you say, some big names here tonight. Look, I'm certainly not one of them, but a refreshment like this, I'm sure you'd fit in right amongst the big stars here.
All right, looking a little glass half empty there, Braden. But anyway, we'll leave you to it. Braden Ingram over in the swanky area at Melbourne Park. Still on footy, and GWS is driving a bold bid to take the AFL to a new frontier. Live now to Chief Football reporter Tom Morris, who's back in the studio. And Tom, where are we off to?
Tony, the GWS Giants have reignited their interest in becoming the first AFL team to host a home and away game in the United States. Now, the two venues I'm talking about are Los Angeles and San Francisco, and these are the games that they'd like to play there, well, maybe in the next few years. Now, plans are still in their infancy. My understanding is a GWS staffer travelled to the US last year to scope out potential venues, with cricket grounds built by the ICC also big enough to host a game of football. Now, back in 2020, the plan was to play against Essendon. Kevin Sheedy was involved in these plans, as was former Essendon CEO Xavier Campbell. COVID put an end to that. Essendon's not involved at the moment. The AFL's keeping very much at arm's length, but the Giants are. And it's on their radar because they believe that the split round this year is a precedent for future years where they could potentially play in the opening round of the season and then come back and play in Australia in round 2. Tony?
All right, terrific stuff. Chief Football Reporter Tom Morris with that report. Well, cricket now, and Steve Smith certainly has a new lease on life after being promoted to the top of the order. Smith will open the batting against the West Indies in Adelaide, and skipper Pat Cummins has certainly noticed a change in the star batsman.
It's as happy and as energetic. I've seen him around the nets the last couple of days. He can't wait to get out there. Also think, the new ball, maybe a few more scoring options is something that excites him.
Cummins also confirmed Cameron Green will bat at 4. The first test starts tomorrow. And fans of NFL team Buffalo have taken matters into their own hands to help their team through to the next round of the playoffs. With extreme weather smashing North America, spectators had to push through snow to make it to their seats before using that snow for touchdown celebrations, even targeting opposition players.
A couple of snowballs with no flag.
Some Bills fan did not want that to be a touchdown. That's not okay.
The icy reception proving too much for Pittsburgh, the Bills prevailing 31-17. Meanwhile, there will not be a repeat of Philadelphia's Super Bowl run from last year, eliminated by Tampa Bay 32-9. All right, Alicia, that's all from Melbourne Park. I've got to go across now and help security evict Braden from that Emirates suite, I think.
Sounds like Tony just wants a drink as well.
Exactly. Thanks very much, TJ.
All right, let's head back to another corner of Melbourne Park to catch up with Livinia again. And Livinia, not great news for tennis fans. More rain forecast for tomorrow.
I'm afraid so, Tom. While this morning storms were isolated and confined to southeastern suburbs, there'll be more widespread tomorrow, and the Bureau has increased the forecast amount of rain. But they won't be with us all day. I'll have those details for you next. From Melbourne Park, where it's been a sun-drenched day 3, the city warmed up to 32 degrees. It was even hotter in Geelong, 33. The UV is extreme at this time of year, and if you're heading outdoors, sunscreen is recommended from 9:20 a.m. right through until 5:40 p.m. And with more than 500,000 samples to be handed out here at Melbourne Park, there's no excuse for tennis fans to go home with a nasty case of sunburn. In the early hours of this morning, severe thunderstorms hit southeastern suburbs, bringing intense rainfall. Moorabbin recorded 43 millimetres in just 1 hour, Cheltenham 39. But come sunrise, there were blue skies right across Melbourne, with all but Mount Dandenong warming up into the low 30s. It climbed into the high 20s and low 30s almost statewide, but there has been significant storm activity about. There's only a very slight chance of showers or a storm across Melbourne this evening. The areas in orange in the west of the state are currently under a severe thunderstorm warning, and there's a warning for heavy, locally intense rain for the area in blue in the northeast. A trough is triggering the storms, and that will travel across the state tonight and tomorrow, bringing extensive thunderstorm activity and heavy rain, but it will be a one-day wonder, with dry skies for most of the state on Thursday. It'll be quite a bit cooler, though, as winds shift around to southwesterlies. Elsewhere around the country tomorrow, Perth is heading for 32 degrees, a top of 23 on the way for Adelaide. Storms for Hobart, Sydney and Canberra, just a light shower or two in Brisbane. Back home, showers and storms will move into central districts in the early hours of the morning, contracting to the east of the state in the afternoon. There's only light showers forecast in the west, 15 to 35 millimetres elsewhere, up to 40 at Wodonga, and thunderstorms have the potential to deliver higher totals. Northern districts will be warm again, with maximums in the high 20s and low 30s. Much of Gippsland is heading for the mid-20s and the low 20s in the southwest. It'll be a very warm night across Melbourne, with minimums of 18 or 19. Then it'll reach 23 or 24 tomorrow. To the showers, they're expected to arrive before dawn, but they should clear in the early afternoon. Eastern suburbs are likely to get the heaviest falls, generally 15 to 25 millimetres, but storms could deliver higher totals. And the Bureau is urging drivers to take care, as the morning commute could be very wet. Geelong can expect up to 20 millimetres and a top of 23. Heavier rain is possible in the city, up to 30 millimetres, and after a low of 19, it's only expected to reach 23. But there'll be very little shower activity after that. Dry skies on Thursday, 21 degrees, 22 on Friday, with only the slight chance of a shower. A partly cloudy top of 25 on Saturday, sunny and 29 on Sunday, 27 on Monday, and up to 33 next Tuesday. So a nasty day tomorrow, but it is looking good for the rest of the week, Alicia and Tom.
Great stuff, Livinia, there, thank you. And that is 9 News for this Tuesday.
We hope you have a great evening. For now, good night.